right, you're good.
Black people and oppressed people in general have lost faith in leaders of America and the government of America. The very structure of the American government that has the Constitution as its legal foundation. This loss of faith is based upon the overwhelming evidence that this government will not live according to the Constitution because the Constitution is not designed for the people. Good evening, and thank you for joining me on the Jackson Wealth Facebook Live. Tonight, I wanted to kind of change it up. I want to bring more of a roundtable talk. Normally, I'm speaking monologue. This time, I wanted to bring a dialogue. And it's surrounding the events that's been going on in 2020, and specifically the recent events surrounding Breonna Taylor in Kentucky and George Floyd, who is actually a Houston native of my hometown, but he did die on the streets of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And just to go ahead and jump in and get started, I wanted to introduce to y'all my two guests. I have Jarvis Judah of Sire Solutions, straight out of Atlanta, Georgia. And then I also have Jonathan Thomas, straight out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And he represents as a financial coach, J. Thomas Solutions. Thank y'all so much, Kings, for joining me tonight and just sharing y'all's opinions and things that are affecting y'all as Black men first and foremost, and then as Black business owners. And so I just want to kind of get started to understand what your business is, starting with Jonathan. What exactly is your business and what services do you provide?
Thank you, Tiger, for allowing me this time to kind of step with you. I am a financial coach, so I help individuals and couples through a financial coaching service with J. Thomas Solutions to kind of help them figure out, understand their budget, develop their spending plan, set goals so that they're able to kind of manage their debt and really start those foundational steps to understanding what investments they have or beginning to invest. So typically my clients, they usually really get all those fundamental skills, but oftentimes they are usually paying off debt or beginning to save and start investing when they're dealing with me.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. And just like we need in the Black community is financial literacy, financial education. So that is awesome. Judah, I would like to go to you as far as the same information. What your business is. I know you're a business coach, and so what services does your business provide?
We provide one quick thing, Jonathan. I'm trying to add this on my page, but it's a private video right now. The way it's structured on your page, just to let you know. But I'm a business coach. We basically do business coaching for small businesses and mid-sized businesses, and we basically provide strategy, marketing plans, and different things like that to make businesses grow. So we so far we've been in several industries: the music industry, personal care, also transportation, also logistics. So we in a lot of different fields, and so we specialize in strategy and also in marketing.
That's awesome. I think that's most important as well, going hand in hand with financial coaching, because there are a lot of Black communities that look to start and build their business, and a lot of people don't have the information or the foundation. They just don't have knowledge of what to do. And so y'all's businesses are definitely appreciated and definitely needed in the Black community. I want to go and speak on some of the things on a personal level first surrounding the killing of George Floyd and then the killing of Breonna Taylor as well. I just kind of want to get your thoughts on that situation first as an individual, as a Black man. Jonathan, if you'd like to start with that.
So it's really perplexing. I think the biggest thing is for us all to understand that yes, many people are hurting, but right now this is about the Black community. It's about what we've seen in the Black community, African American males, and honestly, I was just listening to a podcast and I was reading through some reports. It's females as well. Females is just not highlighted as often, but the murders and the how criminal justice reform affects us as males, us as a Black community, our ability to not only create wealth here in this country, but just create an income, create a viable source where we can provide a space to provide for our families. And the fact is, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to be an African American man in today's society because there are so many different pressures. As a husband, as a friend, as a oftentimes you might be the first generation in your family to be kind of go off and have some sort of success. So it's very difficult to deal with that emotional pressure that you haven't been trained for. And honestly, it only gets worse the older you get, and the more successful you get. It's just that's just more pressure. So it's not an easy task of responsibility that it takes to not only pursue a dream, but pursue it knowing that, hey, it's going to probably be 2 or 3 times harder for me to do or get a business going, get the job, get the promotion that other colleagues have, and be paid and compensated fairly, and have those same opportunities. So it's tough. It definitely is tough. But again, right now it is about the Black community, about what we can do to start to put solutions, not with the conversations that we're having, to try to help the fairness and the liberty and the equality of what we stand for. And one thing that I like that I've seen is no one's asking for a handout. All we're asking for is really a level playing field. If I apply for a job, if I try to start my business, or if I get arrested, give me the same sentence that you would give someone else. If I say, hey, my hands are up, I shouldn't have to worry about when I get pulled over. Hey, man, don't make no sudden movement. Don't wait till they come here. Let them direct you. Yes, sir. No, sir. Well, I mean, does my peers get that same accountability when they're pulled over? So
Right.
that's at least a little bit of, I mean, it's a lot of thoughts going around, but that's for me what I've kind of been able to digest to understand how I feel about this particular scenario. That is, it is targeted. It is one piece of the community. It is a spotlight on the African American segment. And I mean, now is the point of, hey, we need more solutions. It's getting out of hand.
Exactly, exactly. And Jarvis, would you like to speak to that as well?
What's the original question again? I got caught up in his message.
Right, exactly. Basically, just how you're feeling as as an individual, as an individual Black male, dealing with everything that's surrounding the deaths of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd.
Okay. So as a Black male, I mean, this is nothing new to me. This is something I've been going through, all my life. So, for the media, to take notice of it and to blow it up around the world, it's just, I just, see the manifestations of what's been, brewing inside of us for a very long time. And yeah, it's cool, for people to be marching and protesting. It's cool that 4 people got charged, but at the end of the day, life goes back and nothing still ain't changed. And so, it's like he was saying, we want the same sentences, we want the same rights, we want to be treated the same way. And I would just hope that people, start targeting solutions as opposed to just, magnifying the problem. Like, it's cool to put a magnifying glass on the issues and the problems, but somebody need to start putting magnifying glasses on solutions to the problem.
Right, right. And that's really the only time that change actually takes effect is when we start looking at the solution step by step. As me and Judith, we definitely exercise that in consulting, and so that is something that is needed. You have to have steps. You have to understand what is it going to take to get to where we're needed to go. And so I think that's very important that both of y'all brought that up as what is going to be the solution? What is the solution? I wanted to kind of keep on the personal note because there was posts going around, in which I did confirm as well, about the statement Trina, the rapper Trina, made, and basically was stating that the protesters were acting like animals. And so, what is your take on that? To hear that from another Black American, to say that someone is acting as an animal, directed toward, whether or not it is directed towards the looting and things like that. What is your take on that? And I'm going to start with Jarvis on that.
Okay. Once again, King, the video still set to private. I don't know.
That's because your profile set to private. It wouldn't even let me share it to your page.
Okay. Yeah. But we friends on there though.
Yeah, it's Facebook got laws because I can do typing, okay. I can do you.
And you can see it on yours, Queen, on your personal Facebook page.
Yeah, I could.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna work on that on my end.
Right.
Yeah.
No worries.
I got the client.
Okay. The people need it. But yeah. So basically, in my opinion, with everything that's going on, far as like the animals and all that kind of stuff like that, everybody's entitled to their opinion, and so I don't know if they was targeting black men or white men or whoever when they're saying I'm pretty sure they was talking about the looting and different things like that. I see a lot of people with skateboards going around knocking out windows. I don't know why these skateboards come from.
Right.
We don't skate.
So
I roller skate, that's about it.
Right.
So I don't really take any particular offense to anything like that. If you feel like people that are outraged and they're burning things down, or no matter what their reasons behind them burning things down, if you feel that that's considered animal behavior, that's your opinion. I mean, personally, if that was my opinion, I probably wouldn't voice that particular thing or whatever in this climate, in this time, because it's not helping. But I don't really take any offense to it. Everybody, entitled to their own thing, whatever. So, burning things down is not the best behavior, and it is a violent behavior. And so, maybe animal might not be the right word in this climate.
Right.
But I don't think that was the right thing to say. But I'm not angry at the way that person, I guess, expressed themselves with that comment.
Okay, and then Jonathan, why do you think the Black people would be just outraged or stating that they're not going to give her a pass because she did lose her mother, and so there was some suggestions that maybe she was still suffering mentally and emotionally from not having dealt with the passing of her mother? But why do you think that statement from her would evoke so much emotion like that?
Well, it's already a sensitive time. So first of all, I attribute everything to, you have to look at the scenario for what it is. Number one, you name me anybody who went to a high school or family that has some sort of formal emotional training and has been taught how to control their just impulses and when they get upset, things of that nature. And then you fast forward that as far as how we are right now. So last 3 months, we've been locked in our homes. People are really feeling financial pressure, either from the 38 plus million people that have lost a job, that 40% of them aren't going to have a job to go back to. The stimulus checks, the unemployment that was put in place, but people are struggling to get that. So paying their rent, keeping things afloat, keeping food on their table. And then so they've been locked up for 3-4 months. They already everybody always has stuff going on. Now, when the country starts to open up a little bit, murders start happening quickly, like back to back. And they were already fed up. It was already a high intense scenario. And not to mention, you got this virus floating around that there's no vaccine. So some of these people, just like Trina, they lost parents due to COVID. Some of these people, kids, they're disappointed that their kids couldn't graduate and celebrate like they wanted to. Some of these people couldn't get married like they wanted to. But a lot of these people have lost loved ones and haven't even gotten over that piece. haven't fully mourned the death of their own. So it's just like she's going through some things. There are a lot of people who's mirroring that same image. But when you're talking about someone, you're talking about, hey, you're expecting a person to just swallow and take it. Everybody hasn't been trained that way. And that's why I kept saying, even when in our discussion yesterday and in a few podcasts, let the person feel their feelings. But let's also remember the fact that now our sensitivity, our time of struggle is being monetized in a heavy way. There are people who taking jobs as protesters. There are people who actively see these opportunities of, hey, people are upset with this protesting and things of that nature. Hey, let's go over here and loot and mess up their businesses. They don't have any positive actions. They come from, some even say from other cities. They target and, hey, this is my opportunity to go on. And so they automatically gets lumped again to what we have started as a pure argument, a pure debate of, hey, I'm being untreated fairly. Do it. So I think it was one of those things that everyone, when they're in this time, nobody's going to always say 100% of the right thing. So I think for like Judah and myself, I just have a little bit more grace with people. But I will say that if you have a platform, one thing that is consistent, no matter who you are, if you got 100 people, 1,000 people, 100,000 people, and especially if you're a person of color, you're expected to speak out. And if you're not speaking out, inaction to the community is action. If you don't do anything, you did something. So it's not that they're expecting her to go one way or the other. Yeah, they would want her to speak positively for it, but I think also they would probably respect the fact that if she spoke negative, but speak something. Don't, you know what I'm saying? Don't just try to cover up, because in the process, I mean, Martin Luther King, all these people who were going through the cause, they lost people along the way. Lives were lost for this, and lives are being lost right now actively.
And that's true. That is very true. And so you both are in, not saying in agreement, but you understand the violence, or you understand the anger, why there's just so much anger that, you know, some people take it out, you know, being violent, and that's just what it is. Y'all both are kind of understanding and come to terms with, you know, people have to express how they have to express, period.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't come out one way, it's going to come out another regardless.
Yeah, it's gonna come out. I mean, it's sad because, yeah, there are small businesses. Those small businesses likely have been suffering. A good majority of them probably have been suffering already. So it just makes a bad situation worse. And yeah, we all have to practice some sort of safeguard. Like, hey, there are a lot of ways you can displace your anger. Go work out, talk to a friend, take a walk. But understanding that everybody just doesn't have that training. And so people are trying to figure out what they're going to do. And for the large majority of people, they're just protesting. But the looting and stuff, I think that's a little bit more people taking advantage of what is our fight right now. And that's changing and abusing that scenario.
Right.
There's a lot of data and evidence that supports that.
So let me ask now, in regards to an image that I saw, it kind of speaks to what it was that I had said earlier this year on my post, where I'm a big advocate as to, if you speak something into existence, that's what's going to happen. And so in particular, the image was of a Black male, and on one side, there's a police officer holding a gun, and you guys probably seen this as well. It's, you know, I don't like you, and it says, you know, Nigger. And then on the other side, there's a Black male holding a gun saying the same thing. I don't like you. And it's Nigger. So for me, it's the same thing. I understand where and how it was used amongst the Black people, but now you have other cultures that speak freely on that word when it wasn't so easy for those other cultures to speak on that word. And so for me, I feel like Jarvis, he says king, he says queen, I say king, I say queen. I feel that those words actually do penetrate in a way that gets into your thoughts and in your minds. And so now other cultures are able to take advantage of what was supposed to be, something to laugh at because of everything that was going on in the past with racism and segregation and things like that. Can you kind of speak to that, Judah, as far as the language and that use of that word? How does that affect you as a black male, and why is it important that you speak how you speak as saying or addressing king and queen?
I mean, I definitely believe that there's a power in language, and that life and death is in the power of the tongue. Your words has power, and so knowing the meanings, behind the word, ignorant basically, and what that speaks, it's speaking, death into the lives of so many people. And I do feel like we as a people just need to stop. I don't care if it's the ER, the A, or however you want to phrase it. I think that's a word that just need to be taken out of our mouths. And I still, use that word. I grew up using that word. But I try this way. I attempt to do kings and queens for the people, because I just want to speak life. And I think it allows us to be dehumanized in a way, look viewed as thugs or less than. And so, by calling each other that, or be allowed to be called it by other people, no matter if you think it's cool or not, it's not really a good thing or whatever, because it just it adds more negativity to the black brand.
Right. Jonathan?
Yeah, it's I would say, like, I have colleagues that use the language as such, and I never really thought about it, but then until you actually kind of brought it up. But honestly, I think it's a way that people try to speak positivity to their fellow brothers and sisters. So there are some people, like I know people who say brothers and sisters. I usually might say my friend or sir or something of that nature. But I do understand the kings and queens, because what I think they're doing is, by taking the positivity, but also just giving you automatically honor and respect. I think that's where they're trying to do, to try to change the culture of level of thinking. Like, hey, I think of you in this reverence. I want you to think of yourself in that reverence. Much like if you tell a child that, you know what I mean, they'll develop their own complex based off how they're associated with and how they're spoken to. But if they're brought up with with that language constantly in them, and if you're constantly giving that to somebody, it does translate to that person. Like, you know what? Maybe I am better than what I'm doing right now, or what maybe I can do things better than I have been, or have better options. And words have power. Everything, when you think about everything that goes around on this word earth, is based off words. If the president speaks, it can tank the markets. If you say the wrong thing to somebody, you could end up in a brawl. Words have power, to the point of that's how people mobilize and communicate, through words.
Right. And so I just want to kind of backtrack a little bit to what you were saying, that it's become a norm, especially in the Black community. That was just a way of expressing, without it boiling over just the issues that were going on with that word. But I found interesting a post that there was a business owner that actually was holding a monkey, and she said that I made friends with this little today. And so I was really like, oh wow, that is, very interesting, but it's not as surprising, because as I was speaking with others, that you cannot expect someone to give you the respect that you're wanting, but
Mhm.
you're not respecting yourself. And
Right.
so that picture and that post just goes to show, like y'all were saying about certain words, you have to be careful, because allowing everyone to utilize a word that was, amongst the Black community and them not really understanding how it derived or where it derived from, then you're opening up, a atmosphere or a platform for everyone to say, they disrespect themselves, I can disrespect them too. So I thought that was really, really a post of reminding that you have to continuously respect yourself and other in ways that will let others know that, okay, there is a boundary, and no, I'm not gonna take that just because it's popular to use, like the B word. I
Mhm.
never understood how females got to this B word, regardless of if it was used for laughter or to keep from crying. That's something you're not going to call me. You male, female, dog, or cat. You're not going to call me the B word. That's a boundary. And so I feel that same way when there's, it kind of contradicts in a way for me that you expect the respect, but you're not showing that by respecting yourself, if that makes sense. But I do want to add, go on to just one more. Um, this was really powerful that I saw. And with y'all being Black males, I would really appreciate y'all's perspective in breaking this down. Um, Black women not feeling the same energy when it comes to Breonna Taylor, that we give to the Black men when something happens to Black men. We have this high energy, but it doesn't feel reciprocated. Why is that?
Which one you want me or you?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I will say it's definitely tough to be an African American male in the U.S. But by far as treatment, as far as respect in the, I guess you could say the line of segments, the African American woman is treated the worst by far out of anyone. The data supports it. If you look at jobs, if you look at how they're paid, everything. They're always the lowest as far as make less promotion. Yeah, you're seeing a little upbeat in leadership now, but they're just treated by far in the culture way worse than any other segment. And I think that takes a little bit of work from us as a culture, as we're seeking to try to build our community up. We have to uplift our women as well, just side by side, to give them that same respect because they're not treated as such. And I mean, it comes from it's a historical thing. Like if you look at a lot of some of the most recent movies where it talked about some of the slave situations, how the women were used basically as toys, you know what I mean, by the masters and those who owned slaves. They weren't ever treated right. I mean, a male wasn't treated right, but this woman was sexually abused. This woman was treated below dirt, like they would treat a pet better than they would treat her as a person. And constantly, if a Black woman is solid in her skin, if a white woman was to wear a bikini or something like that, it could be looked at in a classy form. A Black woman can wear the same thing, be more full figured, and more attractive, but yet she would be degraded by society's culture. The same outfit, but she's treated automatically different. If you were to Google Black African American women, if you Google Black white women, wife, however, I guarantee you, likely there's going to be something pornographic that comes up for African American women, and for white women, it's going to show you a little bit more homemaker style. It's going to show you a little more something that would be reverent, something that, oh, this is who you need to be with. But the Black women,
And so, what do you think needs to happen then if it's, amongst the Black community with the Black males? Because what I kind of see also is there's a type of trauma as well with the Black males. And so when it comes to the Black females, it's always the bitter or you're angry, or when we agree with something and we have the knowledge or the wherewithal to back up or to speak on something that we don't agree with, then we're not anything, we're not this, and we're not that. So, what do you think, or how do you think things would need to be changed in that area with our Black men, supporting, being more supportive to our Black women, and then as well, our Black women being more supportive to our Black men, and not speaking the negative language as many households are probably taught, just because it's passed down from generation to generation. What do you think on that?
Just to finish up my thought, and then Judah, I'll let you take over. It all comes down to boundaries. Honestly, it comes down to what you're going to accept, what you're not going to accept. Obviously, if we allow ourselves to be portrayed in negative lighting, that's what people see. That's what they get to ascertain. But the moment we shut down and are firm and we follow up and are committed to, hey, I'm not going to allow you to show this side of me to create some sort of perpetuation just to put a dollar in your pocket. Yeah. Can we all do better? Yeah, we can all do better about how we interact, how we engage. That stuff we can do. But when we're talking about, hey, what do people see? What's the image? We can draw a line on what we will participate in and what we won't participate in. And that's the same thing with myself as a male. Hey, I'm not going to allow, what I'm saying? It does take a lot of work, what I mean? And it does take some things that it's going to take some sacrifice in it, meaning, hey, that could cost you your job. That could cost you a standard of living that you want to live. But at some point, if you're trying to really affect change, you're going to have to give up something. And some of it is, hey, you have to draw lines when you're out here hey, I'm not okay with you speaking to me like this. I'm not okay with being portrayed about this. And we have to make the situation so uncomfortable that it keeps the pressure on them, like, hey, they got to get better. They got to get better. Much like this scenario, we can't continue to allow murders and things like that happen. We have to keep the pressure on, as Obama was saying in his message yesterday. Otherwise, it will just fall through the cracks.
Right. And Judah, what is your take on what I spoke on in regards to women not feeling the same energy for Breonna Taylor as it is for George Floyd?
I think well, one is with George Floyd. One, he had a NBA star as a friend. Mm-hmm. Two, it was caught on camera in a way, for 9 minutes, just in a man strangled to death, and he was calling out to his mom. So it was a lot more graphic. Because also Ahmaud, passed and was shot and killed on camera, and it wasn't this big uproar or anything like or whatever. So I think it was, how graphic it was, a man crying out for his life for 9 minutes straight is what made it, what it was or whatever. It was more TV word, as you would say, as opposed to, somebody was going in the house and we knowing that she died and everything like that, So it's that visual effect and audio effect that gave it more life. As far as women just not being treated as well as Black men, I don't know that to be false or true. In Atlanta, y'all got way more money than we do. When we go to court, a woman is more likely to win that case than the Black man is. I no, even when you look at the violence and stuff like that, we're incarcerated at a much larger rate than Black women are.
So do you feel that is there you don't think that there's a disregard for a lot of the things that women go through that's not being that's maybe not being upheld by the Black man as much as the Black woman would uphold him?
I know it's hard to say. Like, okay, I do feel like black women are overlooked in a lot of ways, but Black men are overlooked in a lot of ways as well. It's just I don't feel like it's an unequal overlooking. To be honest, like we go through it as Black men and women go through it as Black women. Just period. I watched my mom, as a single mother, raising and different things like that. she went through a lot, not I seen what she went through. My father, he wasn't really there, but I got a chance to see his lifestyle too, and it wasn't good. So I don't know that like it's like one bigger than the other. I think we just both as Black people, period, are just mistreated,
Mhm.
and beat down. I love being a man, but I would, like, what I'm saying, just from a lifestyle standpoint, I think I probably would have an easier time in life as a Black female. Like you're probably a little less likely to, be killed by the police, even though Black women get killed by the police a lot. You see a lot more Black males being shot and killed by the police. I mean, when we call the police to the house, we're all mistreated, but I've been in a household where the police was called and they just automatically took the woman's side without even knowing anything that was going on. The Black man was automatically, it was something that he did and he was wrong and he got drug out of the house and locked up. And I've seen it several times growing up. So I don't, and even when you look at some of these tapes, the Black women will get in front of the man so he won't get shot. Or whatever, because they know the Black man about to get shot. the gun ain't aiming at the woman. The gun is aimed at the man when it's a Black woman and a Black man together. And so I can't say that Black women are not going through stuff and they're not, being mistreated, because you are. And, on both sides, I just don't think it's like some kind of big unequal portion. I think us as a people as a whole. Now, as far as the protection standpoint, they did a great job at dividing us, the Black man and the Black woman. Growing up, you hear a lot of Black women say, "I don't need a man." You don't really hear that as much in the white community or the Chinese community or whatever, the Indian community or whatever, but you hear it a lot in the Black community. I don't need no man. And then, even songs, I don't want no scrub. Scrub is a guy can't get no love from me. And, all my single ladies, independent, y'all, they portray y'all as wanting to be independent. And a lot of us, buy into that. We allow them to, portray us in the media as a certain way. Where I know a lot of good women that love being with men and stuff like that, Black men. And then, so it's like this resentment between Black men and Black women, because when many Black men are on child support, many Black men have been locked up several times, and, they might get out of jail, try to get a job, and then they can't make it. I know, like my dad was on child support. He deserved to be on child support, but like he was on child support. And he literally couldn't get a leg up in life because every time he get a job, the child support would take like most of his check. Like most of, like, think about it, if you live paycheck to paycheck right now, and then you take 30-40% of your paycheck and they have to go somewhere else. Like, how, if you barely can make it right now and you keep all of your check, how can you make it if 30-40% of it taken away, and then they take their license? Let's say if you lose your job, you can't pay child support at that point because you're out of a job. It's not like a welfare for that guy to be able to take care of his kid, as opposed to like, the women and stuff like that. So it's like, we have to come together as Black men and Black women. I feel like we should keep the courts out of our relationships. First of all, you shouldn't be getting pregnant with somebody who's not going to take care of their kid. You know what I'm saying? That's just like, this is like preservation right there. Like, preserve yourself. So first of all, if you sat here with no birth control, no condoms, no whatever, and you like lay here and got a child with a man that's not going to take care of his child, you got to ask yourself, why would we put ourselves in a position? And this the man and the woman. Why would you put yourself in a position with somebody who's not a worthy parent? We can see this thing that if they don't have no good job, they don't have no good credit, they don't have no education, they barely can read, they out thugging in the streets, they out cheating on you with 5 different women, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so we are, like, it don't take long to figure out if a dude's about his bull or not. Like, you can only act like you about that life, a good man for so long. Is he open the doors for you every time? Do he raise his voice at you? Do he call you out your name when you get angry? Is he, his phone from you? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot of, telltale signs or whatever to know, like, that we can, look at. And the same with the men, the men have to, choose better with their women and stuff. And so I just feel like it's so much pain and hurt between the Black man and the Black woman. They've been like at it, or whatever. So many divorces, so many, child support cases, so many, domestic violence cases, so many, oh, I ain't gonna let you see your child no more cases. Like, I have a good friend now. He's a real good dude. Like, he's a good dude. Broke, but a good dude or whatever. And like, he he spends time with his kids, different things like that. But his the mothers, he has two different ones or whatever. One of them, he didn't even know he had a child. She never told him until the child was like, he didn't find out until the child was like 14, 15 years old. He didn't even know. And then the other one, the other child, the other children, they just kept him away and they wouldn't let him be around his children. He wasn't on drugs. He wasn't doing nothing bad or whatever. He was a music producer trying to make money with his craft, and his business just wasn't working or whatever. But, you know, because he was broke, they said, okay, you can't see your child unless you got this S amount of dollars. You can't be in your child's life. And that happens so much. I'm talking about like constantly. I know many, that's just one. And I'm pretty sure y'all probably know people like that. And it's not right. And so since it happens so much in the Black community, the Black men start having this resentment towards Black women or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And then when you look at, you go on Instagram, like y'all be on Instagram, y'all see what's on Instagram. And so like, you know, and these are what people are deciding to put their pictures up there like that, you know, and deciding to depict themselves like that. And we're talking about thousands, millions, you know, of people like that, not just the one or two here and there. And it's like the overwhelming majority when you start to look. And then the media and the rap music, and it's not no better. We're playing this music that's, you know, saying bad things about our women, saying bad things about our men, and you know whatever. I listen to trap music, you know, whatever. I don't heard the Baby and the Lil Baby and the Waynes and the, you know what I'm saying, the TIs and stuff, and we listen to these things, but they're degrading our women, you know, throughout, you know, all these decades and stuff that we've been listening to this music. And so it's so many things that we support. We look at Power. I don't know if y'all ever seen the TV show Power, but the second largest TV show in America behind that little dragon, whatever the name of that was.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
I ain't watched it. My wife's a big
Like, I didn't even know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, don't ask me nothing more, but the dragon got me.
Yeah, the dragon.
Yeah, I'm not. I gotta confess. I thought he was talking about Dragon Ball Z or somebody. I really don't know. I don't be hearing like that.
Yeah, I don't be on it. So, but Game of Thrones was number one, and number two was Power. Right. So our the number two watch television show in America for a very long time was a Black man cheating on his wife with a Hispanic woman, selling drugs, not being there for his kids. He financially, yes, but not physically and mentally, emotionally there for his kids. Child ended up growing up into a dope dealer, getting his daughter killed. And that's what we watch. Mm-hmm. That's the music we buy. That's the television shows we watch. We on Lifetime looking at folks the women on Lifetime looking at folks get raped and beat and doing this. We supporting Tyler Perry with all that foolishness he be doing. Yeah. And that's what we watch. That's what we buy. And then we wonder why it leaks over into.
I can't necessarily say that's foolishness because it actually is bringing light to what goes on in relationships dealing with women. Like that is, it's a very powerful, because we Black women do hold in a lot. We hold it and we hold it and we hold it. And so I think what Tyler Perry really does great is shedding light on what actually happens, what is going on behind a lot of these closed doors that a lot of us Black women, we don't feel safe enough, comfortable enough. We get looked at as, we're supposed to be strong from, that's just a generational thing. And so that's what we keep up our demeanor. But I wouldn't say that it's foolishness. I think it's just really speaks on what happens behind closed doors that we just haven't came to be able to show our vulnerability to say, yes, this is happening to me. That exact same thing that is being shown, this is what's happening to me, because we're afraid of being looked at as weak, or we open up and give that vulnerability, then that Black man feels that, okay, well, that's what she's about, so this is what I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna do exactly what she states that been going on with her, just this continuous cycle. But I think too, like you said, Judah, there has to be some type of accountability, and it has to be accountability across the board. And I do know what you're speaking of as regards to the women, and when they're saying, they don't need no man, and they're independent and things like that. And I don't think a lot of people understand you have to have a foundation, number one, because if you don't have a foundation, like Malcolm X said, if you don't stand for something, you're gonna fall for anything. And that's what's wrong with a lot of what's happening, is that there's a lack of foundation. You have to have some type of foundation to say, okay, like you were saying, Jonathan, like you were saying, Judah, there's a line. I have to draw the line, because what people may or may not want to believe, that stuff does feed into your subconscious, and before you know it, you're believing in things that you probably don't even know where you got it from, but it's so subliminal, and it's being fed so deep into your emotions, so deep into your spirit, so deep into your mind, and then you start to act out what it is, of being able to differentiate, this is just for entertainment purposes, this is just for them to get paid, but what's the reality here at where I'm at, and where is it, and what is it that I want to happen and want to see. So I think it really does need to be a strong accountability on both ends, but I also think that for you to speak on the child support issue, that is very huge. It is huge because, number one, I think, me being a woman, I understand that is not going to be my first course of action, is not to file child support. My first course of action has been, hey, you pay what you can, help me out, because regardless, these kids got to eat every day. And I don't think it's always necessarily that the woman is picking the wrong guy. It's the fact that in our minds, regardless of what's going on, that child's DNA runs through both of us. So now I have to try to make it do what it do for this child. And that's a lot of the Black women mentality is, I'm trying not to skip that line and draw, have to draw where courts are getting involved. But at the same time, where's the accountability from the men that are saying, hey, if y'all are given this opportunity to pay what you can versus being forced to pay a certain amount, what is the thought process? Why isn't that happening? Because I'm sure there are women that says, hey, you pay what you can when you can. The child has to eat every day. The mother's gonna have to figure it out some kind of. But hey, you pay what you can when you can. But for you to not pay anything at all, or just to disregard until somebody forces you to, that's a problem. And I think that needs to be addressed as well. Like I said, it has to be foundation, number one, and it has to be accountability on both ends. The woman cannot be taking things that she's hearing from her girlfriends and whoever, and well, this is how I'm going to orchestrate and think it's going to be a different result, because that's not one thing I'm very, very strong and stern on, is that whatever that man does, the woman is going to follow. And that's just order. So women have to understand that when you're thinking about laying down with that guy, you have to understand whatever he does, you're going to follow. So if you don't want that type of course, you're going to have to change the way that your perspective is on certain things. But then also that guy has to too, is something that you're going to be out there doing, know and understand there is going to be a child involved sooner or later, but you have to also take responsibility and step up and not wait for the courts to get involved as well. So I'm like you, Judah. I don't think that even with the Black women feeling, or whoever may feel that there's a higher energy for Black men than Black. I don't think that. I think men are just not as emotional as women. We as women, we are very highly emotional. So that's what we're going to portray. We're angry if something is going on. That's what we're going to portray to show, hey, something isn't right. I don't think that it speaks less to the man per se, because men are just not as emotional. But I do feel that y'all are taking this in as well as, okay, this, what can we do as Black men, seeing our Black women get hurt and things like that, just like us, what can happen? So I don't think there's not a whole lot of inequality in that area, but I do understand and know for the Black community, especially, there has to be somewhere, somehow, individuals start taking accountability for themselves. And if not, then you're just going to continue to repeat the cycle and continue to scream the same thing, which is not getting anywhere. It's not getting anywhere. But I want to go ahead and kind of shift real quick over to the business side of things.
One quick thing that I think needs to be said in this regard is, we talk politics, we talk criminal justice reform, child support. Obviously, I talk on the money end, but I will say one thing that I've learned as I've gotten older that I was just completely blind to is the fact that, so for us, it's getting pulled over by police. That's where we feel threatened in our lives. for African American women, it's more of a healthcare issue. It's when they go in with their doctor is where they get that same threat and feeling. And from just listening to Tiger, I was really realizing that I'm like, just like I tell other people, hey, everybody's debt scenario isn't the same. You gotta pick your challenges, and as you get on in life, you're just gonna have new challenges. Pick your, pick your challenge. You know what I mean? Do you always want to struggle with money, or do you be like, oh, I gotta stretch a little bit this month, whatever, but I got the money. Well, for us in this arena, our struggle, our challenge is the law. Black men. I really do think for women, that same breath or that same level is in their healthcare especially when it comes to pregnant moms and just medicine. They're not getting, and I mean these are people who have great insurance companies, but they're not getting the same quality advice experience as their white counterparts. And it is shown in operations, it is shown in that data that, hey, things could have probably be prevented. Or if you talk to some of these women who are even married and they went through some things, they got some bad advice. And when you think about what type of stress that has, that, oh man, I could have killed my baby, listen to this doctor while she's pregnant. So it just kind of adds up. But I did think that that healthcare piece should have been mentioned in that same breadth of conversation.
Well, thank you so much for bringing that up, Jonathan. And that actually is true. And I am going to do a segment on that. So thank you so much for bringing that up. To mention, so I don't want to take up too much more time, but I do feel that we need to speak to the issues and surrounding y'all's businesses. How is this affecting your business? How is it, did you have any types of fears at all, or was it none? Was it just, it is what it is when it comes to speaking out, you being a Black male, but you also being a Black business owner? How were the effects of that, you speaking on that and then thinking about, okay, how is my business going to be perceived and things of that nature? Judah?
And it didn't affect my business any. At the end of the day, I don't really care what nobody say. I'm gonna speak my mind. At the end of the day, so if you don't want to be a customer just because I said something that you don't agree with, then you don't need to be my customer anyway. I'm good. Like I'm not a slave to money. Money is a slave to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Jonathan?
Honestly, it just gave me an opportunity. This whole pandemic has gave me an opportunity to connect with multiple people in a space, especially about their finances. It just raised more awareness of it. Because to be honest, no matter who you are, if you're on a low income, but especially Black people, you realize, hey, I can have a better control of my scenario if I can get my money together. So for me, I think because people have been at home and they've been forced to consume info. And me, I just kind of found new ways of trying to connect with people. It's offered me, I think May, I spoke with close to 15 new people, mostly because I have been doing free consultation for the past 3 months. But that was one of my highest months, just given all the projects and other things I'm doing that I've had the opportunity to connect with people. So, and I think it's helpful. Because even if it's one conversation, that can put you out. But I don't think it's going to affect what I'm able to do, because ultimately a person cannot like you. I've not liked people, but if they got a good product and I really like their product, I'm like, look, I ain't got to talk to you. I'll just go buy the product and go on. That's business, unfortunately.
That's true. That's true. And what do y'all feel? I did a post because I wanted to bring to light some of the issues that I was dealing with myself at the company with racism. And I was actually really surprised at my growth, because I've come a very long way as to understanding or trying to even comprehend disrespect. And then with it being disrespect on the highest scale of being based off of my color, I just thought I would share the light. And basically the white co-workers were women who are women. They were number one offended by my Black Panther buttons and my Free Angela Davis buttons. But there was never an actual dialogue about it. It was more so I'm going to run to the CEO and kind of stir up, whatever I can stir up. And then the CEO, not even taking the time to ask or acknowledge what was going on, just going straight to the person that was doing the accusing and ensuring that they were okay. And so, me reading what Ben and Jerry put out, that really, really hit home to me as far as saying, well, that's the same type of information that Huey P. Newton was putting out. He was articulating, but of course, no one wanted to hear him because they saw him as a threat, or they wanted to see him as a threat, not as someone that is trying to say, hey, articulating what the problem is. We're just a threat because we want to stand up for ourselves and defend ourselves. And so what do y'all think about the statement that Ben and Jerry put out? And basically it's just speaking about they're breaking it down. They articulate it in such a way that you cannot deny that there has not been and still is racism and what needs to happen. And then they even bring up the HR 40 in regards to the reparations. What do you think about that?
So I'm not well versed right there on that statement. I scanned through the statement, basically, supporting HR 40 and supporting, looking back at the history and how we've been done, and maybe even having to talk about reparations and different things like that. I do feel like it's an important thing for us to be able to look it back and study the history and see how our people were affected by all that has went on throughout American history, and also look at to see if it's anything can be done to do some kind of compensation for that. I do feel like that's fair. I mean, I feel like if I build something personally, if I build something, I take my time to build something, and somebody comes in my house and steals it or whatever. It just says, just say I build $1 million empire, and they come in and steal my $1 million empire, and my grandkids grow up, and then their grandkids is living on this $1 million empire that they stole. My grandkids growing up poor because they took everything I had. I mean, I don't think it's wrong to say, hey, give me my $1 million empire to my grandkids, if it was possible, And so I definitely don't disagree with having a conversation about giving something back. Black Wall Street was burnt down, and many other black cities across America was burnt down by our government. And those great grandkids are still living today, and they're probably broke, most of them. And when their great granddads and grandmas had a whole city, and they had doctors' offices and theaters and schools and different things like that they owned, and they was doing well oil and all these different things, and now they had the great grandkids don't have anything. So my great grandmama built something that the government burnt down. Yes, I believe that there should be some kind of something there or whatever for the people. I mean, y'all can give people free checks for coronavirus, and y'all can do government bailouts for different when the housing market crashed, and then it's just bailout that we just did recently that's not calling bailout. And then they did something for the Israel, the Jews, and everything like that. So I don't see nothing wrong with it. Indians even got like their own little camps and stuff like that, and they don't have to pay taxes, and that's why the casinos and a lot of Indians white people use Indians to own the casinos so they can skip out on some of the penalties that they would if they had it themselves. So yeah, I think we should have some kind of benefits or whatever, because we built this country. And I ain't saying just give everybody something for free, but there should be a conversation to see what's the best way to do it, because most people are gonna waste their money. So I think it needs to be more than just, we're gonna give everybody $100,000 a piece or something like that if you're black. I think it needs to be more than that, because most of us will waste it because we're not financially literate. So I think there needs to be a process to go along with it, so we can use it the right way and not just give it back to them.
True. That's true. And that's where me and Jonathan come in.
Right. Right. Yeah, yeah. You ain't gonna waste it with me. It definitely ain't gonna be wasted.
Exactly. Look, we got a plan. We have a strategic
Yeah.
plan for
We
all
gonna
this
keep
stuff.
it.
So would y'all agree with the saying? And this is something that I live by. This is something that this is my core value is that everything starts from the head. And so even as I was speaking about that CEO, that he didn't check on me to see if I was, okay, or to see what exactly was what was going on. He just kind of disregarded it and then dealt with it in a, segregative way. Do you believe in that statement of everything starts with and from the head?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, leadership is everything. So that's going to always be the driving force. Obviously, what we're able to do as a country, there's no doubt in my mind of the success in our country. But let's just be honest. As wealthy as the United States is, there are some things that just don't make sense. It doesn't make sense that people are paying for healthcare. It doesn't make sense that people pay for education. It doesn't even, in some cases, there makes sense that we don't have a baseline income for, saying, living in America because of how much wealth we have built. Not because it's stealing or anything like that, but when you're working together and you're prospering a land, like you take care of the nation that's helping you build. Because regardless, whatever one thinks, it's either your business owner, your consumer, or you're working somewhere in between. And all of those actions move the country forward. So it's important that we understand that I'm with you, Judah. As far as I looked at the HR 40, I'm not too keen on just handing people money because that's the biggest thing. They want to most people want to hand you money in a lawsuit, insurance claim, or something like that, so you'll forget about it and move on. Get a set of guidelines. Let's look at it. If somebody's land was taken in an unfair way and just ripped out from under them, with no regard, yeah, let's go ahead and get that back. Let's restore proper ownership where ownership is due. If you want to give some money, let's look at all these different prison sentences where people are definitely serving time way past their wrongdoing, and let's try to start them off a little bit better and have them go about it in a structured way. But then also, when you're talking solutions, you talk about how are you going to go forward, and then how are you going to enforce how you're going forward. And that's kind of where the piece about right now, it's a tremendous opportunity for America. I don't think everyone. I think it's starting to come a little bit, but there are a lot of seats, a lot of pivotal seats in the House and with Mitch McConnell and even the presidential election that's all going to be up for grabs in the next 4 months. And if anything, like again from Obama's message yesterday, as he was talking about the legislation, we have to get it right with our governors. We have to get it right with our mayors. We have to get it right with our police officers in our county. We have to demand that the police officers who are surveying or policing our area look like us. Because in banking, typically they're going to have you walk into a bank or you're going to walk into a store for anybody, and you're likely going to be serviced by somebody who looks like you. Why? Because that person, number one, is going to know how to communicate effectively to you. Not as a sales tactic, but if somebody's trying to connect with you, they have to give you people that you're able to connect with. So having some white person that stays in a $500,000 home, or may not, or they just don't stay in the area, don't know no parts of the area, but yet they're policing this area, and we already know that the training definitely needs some help on the police force. That's probably not the best solution. So, it's definitely. I'm more, hey, what are we gonna do? Don't just throw no money, because soon after the money is gone, because the money will be gone at some point. And if you back in the same scenario, you just wasted a lot of money. Or you just basically told them, hey, we bought y'all to shut up. That's
Exactly.
one, two things.
Exactly. And like you say, I think it was just very important. I think we all said it has to be follow through. That is the biggest thing, and that's where the ball drops. The ball drops when there needs to be follow through, and it's not just a one-time deal. It's not just a 30-day deal. It's not just a 365 days. It's a consistent and persistent deal where you have to follow through. You have to keep following up. It's like in business, you have to follow up on your business processes. You have to follow up on your employees. You have to. It's very tedious, but it has to be done in order for something to move along, for change to take place. So yeah, I mean, just speaking to all of that, and like I said, with the Ben and Jerry, with their message, it was just so it was very articulate as Huey P. Newton's spirit was speaking through them. Like that's how broken down the process that needs to be done step by step, actionable steps. And I look for those things in business leaders, and that lets me know, are you really a thought-provoking business leader? Because that's what we need. We need those people that can actually bring the attention and the awareness for people to think deeper than the surface and what they're, just saying, hey, okay, just do this or slap this together and be done with it. No, it needs to be some serious thinking, a serious thought process behind everything that's being done. And then on top of that, it has to be consistent and persistent follow through, because without that, then that's how you end up, things end up being just going to shreds and going to pieces and just blowing up. On that, I want to go ahead and end the session with a Bible verse from 1 Timothy 1:5. It says that, but the goal of our instruction is love from a pure heart, and a good conscience, and a sincere faith. So again, I thank y'all so much. Jarvis Judah with Thayer Solutions and Jonathan Thomas with J Thomas Solutions. Thank y'all so much for joining me in this Round Talk Facebook Live. As always, y'all, I thank y'all for joining in, tuning in. If you were able to see this live, if you're on the replay, thank you so much. Please share. Please reach out to Jonathan if you're needing help with any type of financial situation. Reach out to Judah if you're in need of any type of business coaching, or myself with the personal finance and managed processes for your business. As always, I thank you for joining, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon.